It was the 30th of October 1983, and Colette Aram was a trainee hairdresser. At the time of this case, she was 16 years of age. Colette Aram left her home in Normanton Lane, Keyworth, shortly after 8 p.m. on the 30th of October 1983 to walk 1.5 miles to her boyfriend's house. She was usually collected by her boyfriend, but at this point his car was off the road. She was last seen about 8:10 p.m, turning into Nicker Hill, where she was stopped to talk to by a group of friends. And then witnesses apparently heard a woman screaming, followed by a car driving off at speed. The alarm was raised when she did not arrive at her boyfriend's house, and after a series of frantic phone calls, police were called at 10:30 p.m. to help friends and family search for her. At 9 a.m. the following morning, her naked body was found, dumped in a field about 1.5 miles from where she'd been abducted. She had been RAPED'd and strangled. Police launched a murder investigation.
Is somebody protecting this man?
Superintendent Bob Davey heads the inquiry team. Today, 7 months, 2,000 statements later, they still haven't found the killer.
So what the hell do we know about him? He's not going to sit in his house with the word murderer written across his chest or across his back, is he? He's got some sort of sexual hang-up. He likes young kids. It's not going to be ever so obvious when he goes through the door. But talk to the people, talk to the wives. Let's find him, because he's about somewhere. Colette's left in a field, don't forget that. We're dealing with a savage killing. Let's sniff him out and let's see if we can find him.
And on the 7th of June in 1984, no closer to finding who had done this to Colette Aram. The case was featured on the newly launched BBC television series Crimewatch, a programme that reconstructed major unsolved crimes with a view to gaining information from members of the public.
And a grieving family need your help. As you're about to see, the nature of the killing leads to the fear that he might well strike again. It's a macabre story made even more bizarre by this letter that was sent to the police by a man who claims to be the murderer. Do you recognise the style? Now, the letter could be a decoy, it could be a hoax, but if you know who wrote it, you could save someone's life. The details in it suggest it's genuine and possibly written by someone with local knowledge. It starts at a riding stables 5 miles from Keyworth.
I was in a hut for hours waiting for a girl to return from horse riding. No one saw me.
Yet the police are almost certain that the killer hid here while girls were riding near the hut. There are forensic clues, in particular a rag stained with human semen. And at about 4:30, something happened here that was to set off a fateful chain of events.
When the car came with keys, I could not help take it. No one knows what I look like. That is why you have not got me. I know I strangled her. When a car passed, she would have got me caught. But she was not dead when I left her. Maybe the cold killed her. Cars passed when we were there. I thought she would be all right. I go soon, and then you will never get me.
As a result of the appeal, police received 400 tip-offs and were able to eliminate 1,500 suspects from their inquiries. However, the killer remained at large. These are some of the people that came forward with information regarding this crime to see if anything that they had seen may be relevant to the investigation. Shortly after 5 p.m, the car was sighted by a resident in the Keyworth neighbourhood. It had parked up for about an hour, but where did he go? Did he know someone in that area, or did he stop for his dinner? And then someone between 6:20 and 7:20 p.m. also saw the man driving around the neighbourhood in the red car. At one point, a young girl walking her dog had quite a close encounter with the driver of that car as he drove past her, turned around, pulling up next to her and trying to get her into his car. He asked her for directions to Walls Drive, which was strange because he had just driven out of it. He continued to harass the girl to try and get her to get in the car.
Can you tell me where Wold's Drive is, please?
You've just come out of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, where are you going, anyway?
Nowhere.
Do you want a lift?
No.
Oh, come on, it's warm in here. It's dry. I'll take wherever you want to go.
No thanks.
Well, what are you scared of? I'm not going to bite you. Come on. Come on, where do you want to go? I'll take you.
Luckily, she did not get in, and for that reason, she is still alive. At 8 p.m, a very observant witness saw the man in the red car. He was digging in his garden when he witnessed the man pulling up alongside of his house. The man in his garden stopped and looked up, wondering who he was. The man saw him looking at him and made some comment about how he wouldn't be long and that he was just visiting friends. But looking at a map of the area, there were no other houses that he could have visited. The man thought nothing else of it at the time and continued to get on with the work in his garden. A short time later, the man reappeared, walking back towards the red car, but this time, the man in his garden was starting to become concerned, as the man with the red car was walking back towards it, and this time holding a large knife. Due to this, the man quickly took note of the man's car registration number in case anything came of it. At 8:14 p.m, a man sat reading his newspaper in his living room heard a woman scream. He quickly got up and went outside of his house to see what was going on. Police pieced together all the evidence along with all the witness statements and feel that it was at this point when the man heard the girl scream that Colette Aram had been abducted, maybe in this red car.
Colette Aram took her last walk up this hill. She left home at 8 o'clock on her way to see her boyfriend just 20 minutes away. What happened then must be speculation.
At 9 p.m, a man who was not a regular visitor to this particular pub arrived. He stood at the bar and ordered an orange and lemonade. The barmaid asked him if he was on holiday because she just didn't recognise him. He first told her that he had taken a wrong turn, but then recanted that story, saying that he was just visiting a friend in the area. As the barmaid was serving the man, she went to give him his change, and she looked down. His hand was covered in blood. It seemed strange, and not long after that, he asked where the toilets were so that he could probably go and wash them.
We searched and we checked in the toilets and we took possession of some of the tissues, and in fact all of them were sent off to the forensic, and they found signs of blood and also human semen.
But this man continued to send letters to police. Police were looking for a man between 25 and 35 years of age, of medium build with dark hair, wearing a suede jacket. The case was featured for the second time on Crimewatch's 20th anniversary in 2004. Advances in forensic technology allowed Nottinghamshire Police to put together a DNA profile of Colette Aram's killer. The officers appealed for members of the public to come forward with the names of suspects who could then be DNA tested. In June 2008, a young man, Paul Hutchinson, was arrested on a motoring charge. DNA swabs were routinely taken from anyone who was arrested, and his DNA was a near identical match to the profile of the killer of Colette Aram. However, Paul was only 20 years of age at the time of his arrest and DNA swab, so at the time of Colette's murder, he had not even been born. But the match provided the police with the breakthrough they needed to solve this case. When Paul Stuart Hutchinson, Paul's father, then aged 50, was arrested and charged with the murder in April 2009. Now, initially, Mr. Hutchinson tried to blame the murder on his late brother, who had died in January 2008, but DNA tests ruled Gerard out, as his DNA was held on a hospital blood sample and did not match the crime scene. Mr. Hutchinson who was 50 at the time, was held on remand after his arrest and entered a plea of not guilty on the 5th of October, but changed his plea to guilty at a pre-trial hearing in December 2009. And on the 25th of January 2010, Mr. Hutchinson was sentenced to life with a minimum of 25 years at Nottingham Crown Court for the murder of Colette Aram. Colette's mother, Jacqui, said, "Mr. Hutchinson's sentencing brought some relief, but the family next needed to know why she had been murdered. It was a question that he refused to answer." At 8 a.m. on the 10th of October 2010, 9 months after his sentencing and after 18 months in custody, Mr. Hutchinson was found unconscious in his cell at Nottingham Prison. Paramedics were called to the scene and tried to resuscitate him. He died at 9:58 a.m. in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. It's believed he took an overdose of medication, but a post-mortem examination was inconclusive. Mr. Hutchinson's daughter told the inquest he had asked his wife to come and meet him in prison the day before he died, but she did not attend the meeting. So that's the end of this case for today. But one thing I'm going to start doing is I'm going to show you the e-fit photo of the suspect that many people helped create in order to try and find the perpetrator. This is the best photo I could find of him when he was younger. Do you think this man would have been picked out as somebody that looked like the killer? Do you think one of his relatives would have sat at home and thought, "Oh my gosh, that's my husband, that's my son"? What do you think about this e-fit photo? Do you think it looks like the killer?